All right, welcome in everyone to Sports and Media. I'm Josh Barakin, and today we're going to be exploring the intersection of performance enhancing drugs, also known as steroids. Steroids are a pretty controversial topic or debate, if you want to call it that, over generations and generations in sports, on the media, or just in physical training itself as a whole. So obviously, if you don't know what steroids are an injection or a drug that can basically just enhance the athletic ability of the natural and generic human being. It can increase muscle strength, muscle size, skill, speed, and also can sometimes lead to mentality increase as well, depending on what that mentality is. Can be sometimes good, sometimes bad. But we're going to be looking at multiple issues today, including how leagues kind of look at steroids and how they treat them, whether they ban them or not, especially some certain athletes that are known for using steroids in the past. Obviously, we're going to be looking at the health effects of steroids. I was able to interview an athletic trainer for that as well, and then how steroids kind of affect the way that the media affects training, sports, or gym etiquette in a way. I was also able to interview someone who has actually taken steroids in the past before, so I'll be able to talk about what he said in a little bit. But to kind of start things off, we're going to talk about leagues and steroids itself. In most leagues, especially in the US, most commonly known, the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, the four big main ones, they all have steroids banned. And the reason for that is obviously because it ruins the integrity of the game. It's considered cheating in a way. You have the natural human body, which is capable of being strong, fast, quick, skillful, and so on. However, if you were to inject steroids into your body, obviously it enhances it. It makes you stronger, more physical. It can pretty much just make you a all-around better athlete than the natural human body itself. One popular MLB player who did take steroids in the past was none other than Barry Bonds, Mr. Home Run King himself. So throughout his career, he wasn't found to be using steroids, but after he did end up retiring, he was found out that he was using steroids, and he had an amazing career, who had hundreds and hundreds of home runs today, and so he was given the nickname of Mr. Home Run King. He had 762, which is the most in MLB history. But after his career, he was tested, found, and was positive for using steroids. Now, this is obviously considered cheating to many leagues, obviously because he was much stronger than his competition. Probably answering the reason why he could hit 762 home runs. And so because of this, it was a huge debate. Is Barry Bonds considered a great athlete, or is he a cheater? And it shifted towards his Hall of Fame contribution. And so it turned in this whole debate. Is Barry Bonds allowed in the Hall of Fame or not? Is he a cheater, or did he just have such a great career before he was found out having steroids that we should just let him in anyway? It was this whole argument going on. He still is not in the Hall of Fame today. However, it's still kind of little bit of debate as well. Roger Clemens was also another MLB player during the time of Barry Bonds who was found using steroids as well. He isn't as known as Barry Bonds, but he is another MLB all-star who was taking steroids to enhance his ability. And so kind of shifting now towards one generation that does allow steroids is bodybuilding competitions. Mr. Olympia is the most known bodybuilding competition that does allow steroids because of the muscle growth enhancement and tonnage that leads into it. As I know, at least, I don't know if many other people do, Chris Bumstead, who is a four-time now Mr. Olympia champion, who does take steroids. He takes about 200 milligrams of testosterone weekly to enhance his body for that competition. Now, there are natural bodybuilding competitions and obviously performance enhanced. So that is the only sport or competition that we see performance enhanced drugs allowed. However, majority of sports, due to their competition, do not allow steroids in general. Now, the issue with this is that businesses just ban steroids because of the integrity of the game. They don't necessarily look at the health reasons for that, but the health reasons can actually be one of the biggest risks of taking steroids. On paper, steroids seem good to the human eye. I mean, they make you bigger, make you stronger, make you more skillful in a lot of things, but obviously there comes those risks. I was able to interview Tufts University athletic trainer Lauren Bracken on this, who's very well known for steroid use in college athletes, as she's had to study it and deal with it before. So I asked her on the short-term effects of taking anabolic steroids, and she first said that there's aggression and mood swings, and obviously the slight muscle growth in the human body as well, and they can also be identified physically with acne and baldness. And it's aggression and mood swings that kind of leans towards when you are training, you have that mentality. That's when that mentality era kind of kicks in. So those were the short-term effects, and then I later asked Lauren Bracken what were the long-term effects, what was the real risk taker of taking steroids, and she went on to say that one of the biggest long-term effect of taking steroids is failure in the kidney, liver, or heart that can lead to an early death. And there have been multiple early athletes and bodybuilders who have died in the past, unfortunately, because of anabolic steroid use. Another more so on the long-term effects, there can also be this thing called roid rage, which is basically just high aggression while taking steroids that can lead to violence. And there have been athletes and bodybuilders in the past who have been known for having high roid rage, and it leads to violence, it leads to aggression. It can seriously get you in some serious trouble if obviously you are unable to control it. That's when that mentality again leads into it. Roid rage most commonly happens in the gym, obviously, because you are training, lifting weights, running. You have this hard working mentality, and so that's when that roid rage starts to kick in. One last thing I asked Lauren Bracken on was, what was the biggest myth of steroids? A lot of people may not be educated on them, so what was the biggest myth? And she said addiction. Many people do not believe that addiction doesn't exist in steroids, but she says it absolutely does, and that they are very addictive, and athletes will refuse to say that they're not addictive and that they can stop whenever they want. It's a very common excuse for addiction no matter what. And so when it comes to addiction, you're used to just taking steroids. You want more and more and more, so you keep taking them, the long-term effects kick in, and then at one point you could have that malfunction of kidney, liver, or heart as well. Now, obviously, this is a sports and media podcast. We're not just talking about the sports. We have to dive into the media side as well. So when it comes to the media side, I was able to interview one person who I will get to in a bit, but one of the biggest things is a misconception of how the human body looks and the lies that can be spread on social media. So obviously, body image is a huge thing on social media. People compare themselves to other people, whether you're thinner, larger, more muscle-toned. People compare themselves on social media every day, and one of the biggest misconceptions is that you question if these people on social media are quote-quote non-natty, which is basically just considered a non-natural human who has been taking performance-enhancing drugs. And many people have come out honest about their steroid use, which is good for social media use, and then there are those who will hide it and still claim that they're a natural human. The problem with this is that if you are an athlete or a bodybuilder who looks at these people who claim to be natural but when they're not, you are given false hope. You have this idea of what you can achieve, of what you can look like, but then it turns out that that's just a huge lie because it's a non-natural way of enhancing your body. For me, I could look at someone and think that I could be this huge, shredded, toned human being, when in general, I will never achieve that. Clearly because it's not natural, and these social media influencers online are lying to me, telling me that I can reach it as long as I follow them, like their videos, follow their diet routine, follow their exercises. It's basically just a way to have people come to you for likes, follows, and all they're receiving in return is just false information and lies, which is pretty unfortunate. And the other thing with steroids on social media is that sometimes it entertains it. It almost promotes steroids to a young age. And so when you see these big people, all these people who have used steroids before looking great on social media, they have these huge achievements in sports. The younger generation, especially our age, Gen Z, they'll look at it and be like, I want to be that. I want that to be me one day. So they'll look at it, consider taking steroids, and maybe, just maybe, they will start taking steroids. I was able to interview Rollins College student Gavin Kassler on this, who has been in the past taken steroids at one point, where he said that the reason he took steroids at one point was because he saw how good that these people looked on social media and that he wanted to look like that as well. He had only taken steroids for about a month, but he had stopped since. But the reason he said that was because he wanted to be these other people. So the thing about steroids and social media is that it's just a promotion, almost. Is that it promotes steroids, and that the people posting these online don't necessarily care about what happens to their followers. They're not explaining the risk of taking steroids. And then you had these young people taking steroids, and then those long-term effects that Lauren Bracken was able to inform us on earlier, those will kick in, and then you have these young athletes dying at an unfortunate age as well. But those are the three main points I want to get to today on this podcast. Obviously, my paper will be going more in depth on this as well, with more evidence, but that was really the main kind of rant I want to go on when it came to steroids. I love the gym myself. I think it's a great place. However, I'm not promoting steroids myself, but that is the main 3 points I want to get to inform people on this issue, on how sports athletes, bodybuilders, and physical training overall can be affected by steroids, and obviously, again, how the media looks at this, because social media today is a big issue today. Again, I'm Josh Bracken. I'll see you guys next time.